Today I'm going to be reviewing the Engwe Engine Pro 48-volt electric bike. It arrives in a very large box, weighing almost 100 pounds, measuring about 56 inches wide and 28 inches tall. Now let's first open the box and check it out. It's very well packed. I've got the bike out, but still some assembly is required. I still put on the seat, the handlebar and the front wheel. This is the vertical part of the handlebar. To put this on here, you need this screw and a very big washer. Put it on here and put the screw and washer and tighten this screw. See, this part here is facing down right to the front of the bike, and that's where the exact position of this part right here. To install the wheel, we need to remove this axle here because there is already an axle on the wheel. This is not a spare. This is here to keep the fork in place and not being bent during shipping. Also, make sure you tighten these two screws, otherwise you cannot turn the wheel. So first, let's go over the specs of this bike. It is 67 inches long from front to back, 48 inches tall at the handlebar, which can be raised another 4 inches at the top to a total of 52 inches tall before the cables get in the way. The bike weighs 72 pounds, even though it's made almost entirely from aluminum. From the handlebar to the front fork to the frame to all the way to the back of the bike, almost everything is made of aluminum. We've got 20-inch wheels with aluminum rims. Tire size is 20 by 4 with maximum pressure 20 psi. The ride is very comfortable thanks to the two big tires, and it's very stable compared to regular bikes with smaller diameter tires because you've got more grips on the road. That also means more friction between the bike and the road, and therefore it would reduce your range, which is a small price you have to pay for in order to get a more comfortable and stable ride. We've got both front and rear hydraulic disc brake. Being hydraulic, it's much lighter when you depress the brake handles compared to cable brakes. I find the stopping power of these brakes adequate for a bike of this size. On this bike, I like the fact that it has two suspensions, one on the front and one on the rear. Combining that with a fat tire, the ride is very comfortable even on rough terrain. We have a headlight on the front and a tail light on the back. The front headlight has a light sensor, so it can be set to turn on automatically when it gets dark, or you can just turn it on and off manually. The tail light has two LEDs on the sides and a reflector in the middle. When you depress the brake handles, the LEDs will be brighter, indicating to any vehicle behind you that you are slowing down. There's a horn that's built into the front headlight. It's not too loud, but this is a bike and not a train, so it's adequate enough for pedestrians and other bike riders around you. The seat is large enough and it's very soft and comfortable. It's adjustable to different heights. It's also removable, so if you don't like this seat, you can always install a different seat of your liking. My most favorite feature of this bike is the handlebar. It's made way up high, so you don't have to bend forward and hunch over. I have a bad back, so bending forward while riding a bike is very uncomfortable for me. I like to set my seat low and my handlebar high so that I can sit upright. This upright position is very inefficient when you pedal a bike with your leg. But who needs pedal efficiency when you have an electric motor to do all the work for you? This upright position is very comfortable for longer rides. You don't have to hunch forward and be aggressive like on a road bike or a mountain bike because the electric motor does all the work for you. On most of my bikes, the handlebar is only about 40 inches tall or less. On this bike, it's 48 inches tall. It's also adjustable, so you can raise another 4 inches higher to 52 inches total. I ride this bike like a Dutch bike, which has an upright posture, so I don't have to kill my back on every bike ride. On the back of the bike, we have a very well built rear rack. This rack is solid like a rock. It's mounted on the frame by 4 screws, so it's very sturdy. It's rated at 25 kilograms or about 55 pounds, but it's so sturdy that my son was able to carry 2 more smaller kids on the back with ease. By the way, there's no footrest or wheel skirt to protect the kids from poking their feet into the wheel, so I made a special seat and footrest to accommodate them. On the rear wheel, we have a Shimano Altus 8-speed gearbox. It's a push and pull gear shifter which has a gear indicator screen so you know exactly what gear you're on. It's not clunky or deciding. It's accurate and crisp, and it's very well built. Moving on, next to the seat, we have a small handle. This is for lifting up the bike to move it around when it's folded. This is also what I used to lift up the bike with my luggage scale to weigh it earlier. The pedals on this bike is foldable, and the bike will be about 3 inches smaller on each side when the pedals are folded. These are made of aluminum instead of plastic, and it feels nice and solid. My other Swagtron e-bike also has foldable pedals, but they are made of cheap plastic, and I already broke 2 of them. This is the part where you put a lot of force into it, so making it from plastic won't last long. This bike is foldable, so let me show you how to fold this bike. First, you need to fold the pedal and unlock it. Now we can fold it like that. Fold the handlebar down just like that. There's a metal bar on the bottom to support the weight of the bike instead of this sprocket and chain. And this is what it looks like when it's folded. Extremely small and compact. I have a small hatchback here. I'm going to try and put it in the back of this car and see how easy or hard it is. Wow, it's heavy. Without the folding feature, there's no way this bike will fit in this car. On this bike, there's a walk mode, so it's very useful when you walk your bike or when you want to load up your pickup with a ramp, right? This walk mode can be used at any level, so right now we're on Eco level 1. But all you have to do, press on this down button, press and hold for 2 seconds. Go ahead. Now you can see the walk icon, and the bike will go at a slow walking rate, about 2 miles per hour. Here's the battery pack, and to remove the battery out of this frame, which I already did, there's a pin here that holds the battery in place, so you got to turn the key twice. The first turn, it only goes in just a little bit, and then you got to push the key in and turn 1 more time. Now this pin is all the way in there. Now you can pull the battery out. Here is the battery pack. Let's take a look at the specs. You got the capacity 16 amp hour or 768 watt hour. So it's about 3/4 of a kilowatt hour. Nominal voltage is 48 volts. Maximum discharge current is 25 amps. And if I take 25 times 48, that's 1.2 kilowatts maximum discharge. And charge current is 3 amp max. And here is the charger. The output on this charger is 3 amps, which matches the maximum charge current on the battery. The output voltage is 54.6 volts, and if I take 54.6 divided by 4.2, I've got exactly 13. So I believe this battery is a 13S battery pack. Now let's see how much this battery weighs. It's almost 9 pounds. I removed the top cover of the battery, and here is the inside of the top cover. We've got a ignition switch. It's basically just a regular on-off switch. 2 wires here go straight to the battery BMS, and it would tell the BMS to turn on the battery when the switch is on. And there are 5 pins in here, in which only 4 pins are active. The middle pin is empty. So this here is the negative terminal, and you can see it occupies 2 spaces, and it has 2 pins. 1 pin right here on the left, 1 pin right here on the right. It's right here, and if I flip over, is this pin and this pin. So the negative terminal is actually 2 pins soldered together. Same for the positive terminal, which is this pin and this pin. And I can double check with a continuity test. That's connected together. That is not. If I move over here, that's connected together. We've got the charging port on the side, which has 2 wires coming out, and it goes straight to the battery BMS. The main battery terminal, which are the 2 wires here, and it goes through the fuse. This fuse is a 40 amp fuse, and then it continues to go to the battery BMS. So if your battery does not turn on, make sure you check the fuse first. Let me show you the LCD screen and the user interface. You press and hold the power button to turn on. It's not a touch screen, but it's very nice and bright. To go to settings, you press and hold the plus minus button. Let's go to setup. You can set unit to metric or mile. You can set the brightness of the screen. Auto power off. You can adjust the timing. Speed limit. Maximum is 31. And we go back. Personalization. Cruise is cruise control. ACF. This is supposed to be a regenerative braking. Auto headlight. You can set up on auto. When it gets dark, the headlight will automatically turn on. I prefer to turn on and off manually, so I just set it to off. Power set. This has many power modes. This is from 0 to 3. 0 is just pedal only. There's no power from the motor. And this is the level between 0 to 3. You can also change the power setting for each of the level. For example, let's go down here. That's level 1. Now it's at 50%. But you can change it down to, say, 40%, for example. So at level 1, instead of getting 50% of power, now only 40%. You can change the amount of power that goes to any of these power level. Now let's go to other power mode. This one goes from 1 to 9, so there are more power settings. This is more like gears in the internal combustion engine cars, except that this is electric, that is. Let's see if we have other setting. We also go from 0 to 9, so before we have 1 to 9, that means there's no level 0. That means that the lowest level is 1. You can't pedal by yourself. But with 0 to 9, at level 0, you can just pedal without any power coming from the battery. Now this one is from 1 to 7, 0 to 7, 1 to 5, and 0 to 5. And we go back to 1 to 3. I prefer this level from 0 to 3 because I don't have to press so many buttons in order to change speed. Now let's go back. And that's all for this part of the menu. Let's go back. And the last one we have is system info. And that's it. Let's go back. On this bike we have 3 modes. Sport, and we press and hold the I button here. We go to Eco, press and hold again. Normal. Eco mode is the slowest setting, but you also conserve a lot of battery power. Normal mode is normal. Sport mode is the fastest. And this is my preferred mode because I can get to the top speed of the bike. It's also the most aggressive when you use pedal assist. I only have 3 levels here because in my personalization I showed you earlier, I only went from 0 to 3. 2, 1, and 0. On the right side of the screen we have power, and this will show how many watts the motor consumes in real time. If I press the I button, it will show you trip time, max speed, average speed, total distance, trip distance, and power. On the top of the screen we see the cruise control icon. It's there because on the personalization we turn that on. To activate cruise control, just press down on the throttle here and hold it steady for 8 seconds and it will automatically turn on cruise control, and then you can release it and it will maintain the speed. To cancel cruise control, you just have to depress the brake or just press down on the throttle. Let's talk about the speedometer on the screen here. This is factory setting, so I don't know how accurate it is because it's not based on the actual measurement of the wheel. It's based on the computer inside the controller. I want to see how accurate it is. I installed my own speedometer, and this one is hardwired onto a magnetic switch on the wheel. And the wire comes down here, and that is the magnetic switch. And it's based on this magnet here on the rim, and it will count the revolution of the wheel, and that's the most accurate that you can get. I have measured the actual circumference of this wheel, and it turns out to be exactly 1,860 millimeters. And that's the number I put on here. So let's give it a try and see how accurate it is. It's about 2 miles per hour higher than actual speed. The speedometer is about 1.5 to 2 miles per hour faster than the actual speed. In order to change the speed setting on this bike, we need to change the setting on the diameter of the wheel. We need to go to the secret menu setting. Let me show you how. Turn this off first. Now we're going to turn it back on, but press and hold this button. Don't release it. Asking for a password. It's going to be 1212. So press the up button and then the I button. 2, 1, 2. Now we press the I button again. And we go to the advanced setting. This is the secret menu. In here we can change many control parameters. There we go, diameter of the wheel. That's 24 inch. And most importantly, the circumference. The factory setting is 1800 millimeter. And that's a little bit too high. I'm gonna go down to circumference, press I, and then we can go down. You see that? I'm gonna go down to, by the way, press this down button and you can adjust to reduce the circumference. I'm gonna go down to 1710. And now I press I again, and that is saved. So let's go back and then press I again. Now we go back. It will turn off and save everything. Now I'm going to turn it back on again. This time I release the power button. Okay, now it's on, but with the new setting, with the new diameter of 1710 millimeter instead of 1800. So hopefully the speed on here should be reduced enough to match the actual speed on here. Here we go. It's almost the same. Let's go faster. Let's see if it would match. almost the same, I would say. Yep, almost the same. 27.7 versus 27.7, so that's pretty accurate. Exactly the same, it's identical speed. So this speedometer is set on 1710 millimeter circumference, and that is not the actual circumference of this wheel. This one is set on the actual circumference of this wheel, which is 1860 millimeter, and that is the accurate measurement. And by matching the speed of the actual measurement, I can have the more accurate speed of the wheel of the bike. Now let's do a range test, shall we? I'm going to reset my trip to 0, so it should be in menu and then clear data and then trip distance. Clear trip distance, yes. Now my trip distance is 0 mile, so let's go. I'm on a bike trail right now. I've gone through over 5 miles, 5.3 miles to be exact, and my battery is still at 100%. I'm not sure if something wrong with this battery gauge or this battery is that good, but I'm afraid it's the former. So for this test, I'm gonna go on full throttle at full speed all the time and throttle only, no pedal assist at all. I want to see how far I can go with maximum power. I also have a small luggage on the back too, so hopefully it doesn't reduce my range too much. This part of the road is very bumpy. At the end, there is a very steep slope at the end, so let's see how this bike handles a bumpy road and a steep hill at the end. Now let's try a speed test on throttle only. See how fast it goes. 20, 24, 25, 27, 28.3. Let's do a test, 0 to 20, see how fast we can get to 20. Ready? This is a very steep hill. Let's see how it can do it. Oh yeah, just throttle only. Just throttle only. Oh wow. Very nice. Check this out. How steep this hill is. Here you can see how steep the hill is. Usually people have to stop and walk the bike up. Usually on a regular bike, when I get up to this point right there, I have to get off the bike and walk up. But with this bike, went through like nothing at all, just on throttle only, no pedal assist. Oh yeah, just fine. Let's take a ride on the sand, see how she can handle the sand. Nice and smooth. Oh yeah, very cool. Beautiful day. I'm at a public restroom. I have to bring the bike in because, well, I have a lock, but I don't want to leave it outside. Even with a lock, it'll be gone in 60 seconds. Right now we're at 15%. Maximum speed goes down to only 23 miles per hour. Only a few seconds later, goes down to 11%. So when the battery is low, it goes down really fast. Now we're at 9%. Maximum speed 22.4 miles per hour. Oh, it's throttling down. It's throttling down. Actually, the controller shuts down. Wow. 6%. The controller automatically shuts down. There we go. So there you have it. At 24.7 miles, the controller shuts down, and we're at 8%. I can probably go for another, I would say, half a mile or so, but that's it. So I would say 25 miles on throttle only at maximum speed. Now I have to ride home using my own power. All in all, this is an awesome bike. It rides very comfortable even on rough terrain. It's fast but very stable at high speed compared to bikes with smaller tires. I was surprised at the range I've got on this bike. 25 miles on throttle only at maximum speed. That means it can even go further than 25 miles if you ride at a lower speed. And if you use pedal assist instead of just throttle only, you can easily double the range to 50 miles, depending on how hard you pedal, that is. Because if you're Lance Armstrong, your range could be 1,000 miles on a single charge. I'm just kidding. This bike is an attraction everywhere I go with it. People always stop and ask me questions about this bike. This kind of attraction is also a downside to this bike. It attracts attention, especially to the thieves. Everywhere I go, I have to bring it with me. I do not lock this bike and leave it outside so that I can go inside any building. With the attention it has, it'll be gone in 60 seconds, no matter how secure your locks are. Your lock security is inversely proportional to the value of the bike. The more value the bike is, the less secure your locks are. There are still quite a few things I want to modify on this bike to make it even a better bike. I want to modify the rear rack and turn it into a people carrier and also a cargo carrier. And I want to be able to switch between the two tasks very quickly. And finally, one very important thing about this bike is it would allow me to add an external power like a solar panel, a power bank, an external battery, or a power station in order to extend a range on this bike. And if I have a battery that's large enough, I have an electric bike that has an unlimited range. Stay tuned and I will show you all that in my next video. Until next time, thanks for watching.